I want to show you something that rarely makes it into history books. You see, at the end of World War II, thousands of aircraft were simply left behind. And I'm talking about on islands, in deserts, on frozen tundra, but not because anyone forgot about them, but because in many cases, walking away made more sense than bringing them home.
When people see photographs of abandoned World War II aircraft, the reaction is almost always the same. Why didn't anyone recover them? Why were they just left there? It looks careless, wasteful, maybe even negligent. But those aircraft weren't abandoned because no one cared. They were abandoned because the war had created a logistical reality that didn't disappear when the fighting stopped. World War II wasn't just a military conflict. It was an industrial event on a scale the world had never seen before. By 1945, the United States alone had produced nearly 300,000 aircraft. They were built quickly, they were shipped globally, and they were designed with one priority in mind: winning the war. Not longevity, and definitely not preservation. Because once the war ended, the sheer number of aircraft became a problem in itself. Recovering an aircraft wasn't as simple as flying it back. Many planes were damaged, worn out, obsolete, or located thousands of miles from the nearest major base. Fuel cost money. Crews cost money. Ships and transport cost money. And in many cases, the aircraft themselves were worth less than the cost of moving them.
So the decision became brutally simple. I mean, let's look at that. If it costs more to recover an aircraft than to scrap it, it simply stayed where it was.
Another factor was speed of advancement. You see, aircraft technology moved incredibly fast during the war. By 1945, many planes that had been cutting edge just a few years earlier were already outdated. Jet propulsion was arriving. New designs were on the horizon. Keeping old aircraft did not make sense. Not economically, and definitely not militarily. After all, they had done their job. Some of the most famous abandoned aircraft sit in places that are difficult to reach, even today. Arctic regions, remote Pacific islands, deserts with little infrastructure. In those environments, recovery operations were dangerous, expensive, and unnecessary once the war was over. So leaving aircraft behind wasn't neglect. It was kind of like triage. In many cases, aircraft were dealt with, just not preserved. Some were stripped for parts, bulldozed, burned, or deliberately destroyed to reclaim valuable metals. Aluminum, steel, and components were needed elsewhere. So what looked like abandonment today was often resource management at the time. Today we look back with a collector's mindset. Many of us see rarity, historical value, preservation potential. But that wasn't how people saw these machines in 1945. They were relics. They were tools. And tools that were no longer useful were simply discarded without sentiment. The unintended result is that some of the most powerful visual reminders of World War II are the ones nobody meant to preserve. Aircraft left exactly where the war ended for them. Frozen, buried, or slowly reclaimed by the environment. They weren't saved by foresight. Rather, they survived by accident.
The reason so many World War II aircraft were abandoned, it's not mysterious, it's practical. I mean, when the war ended, the world moved on faster than the machines that fought it. And sometimes history survives not because it was protected, but because it was left behind. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the part of the story we rarely talk about.